Hey, welcome back. I'm so glad you could join me. This is chapter 6, and I want to preface anything that I am about to discuss is definitely not for children. It is a little graphic. There is some sexual content, and I just want you to be prepared in case you don't want to hear hear this true story of why I got disfellowshipped. It is graphic, and if you just don't want to hear it, that's fine. Just skip to chapter 7. But this is one of the main reasons why I am no longer a Jehovah's Witness. So that's why I don't really want to tell this part of it. However, it's crucial to the story. So here we go. So I am living a single life, living back home with my parents, and tried to had different jobs, this and that. And I ended up getting a great job with a doctor, a gynecologist, in town as his nurse, and it was a great job. I was there for 5 years and really established a rapport with the staff there, the girls there, great girls. We're still friends to this day. This was back in the early 2000s, 2003 through 2008. And established great rapport with the patients. And I, as a baptized Jehovah's Witness, apparently this religion just wasn't for me. And I didn't realize that until after I left. But I'm single, and I wanted to find somebody. Nobody wants to be alone, and I was still young, in my 30s, mid 30s, and I thought, well, if something comes my way, there weren't any brothers in the congregation that were really worth my time, honestly, sadly. That's just a whole other story, but they just weren't, it was just slim pickings. So, and it's not like I was looking purposely outside of the Jehovah's Witnesses, but something happened. One of the patients, female patients, obviously, gynecologist, older woman, she took a liking to me, and she said, I have a son that I think you would like, and I think he would like you. And would you be interested in meeting him? And I, said, yeah, I would. So I gave her my number. I said, here, have him give me a call one day if he wants. We can meet. And I tried to be very responsible with my dating, regardless of what religion you're brought up in. Is for a female, it's better to be safe than sorry when you go meet a stranger, because it's just better to be safe than sorry, plain and simple. And so one Sunday after I came back from the Kingdom Hall, I got a phone call from this person. He called me, and it was still early afternoon. And he said, my mom gave me your number, and I would definitely like to meet you. She's told me a lot about you. I said, okay, well, where would you like to meet? He said, well, I can't really leave the house because I've already had a few beers, and I don't want to, be driving, under the influence of alcohol. And so if you want to come over, you can come over. And I was not thinking, obviously. But I said, well, where do you live? And it just so happened it turned out that he lived directly across the street. After I got his address, I looked it up. Directly across the street from one of my very best friends, Jehovah's Witness friends, and her husband and her children. Directly across the street. No joke. I thought, okay, it's still daytime. It was daytime. He says, why don't you come over and we can just get to know each other, blah, blah, blah. So I went over to his house, and I didn't feel uncomfortable or anything. He seemed like a nice gentleman, and he was showing me pictures of his family, siblings, exes, stuff like that in a photo album, and he was intoxicated. He showed me a picture of, after talking and chit-chatting, showed me a picture of an ex of his, and she had a black eye. I didn't say anything, but he volunteered to give me the reason why she had a black eye. And he said, I'm the one that gave her that black eye. And immediately I knew that this was I had a gut feeling that I needed to get out of there. But I tried to play it cool. Apparently he had a temper, and that's why he gave her a black eye. That's what he said. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know her. So I told myself that I needed to play it cool and just try to coax myself to just leave in a casual way, not to bring up any alarm, because I did not want any trouble. And so I said, well, I was there for maybe a couple hours, tops, no more than that. I said, okay, well, I need to go now. And I went towards the front door of his house, and he wouldn't let me leave. And I said, no, I really need to go. And he really wouldn't let me leave. He was ex-military, very strong, muscular guy. He would not let me leave. And he proceeded to drag me forcibly to his bedroom, which was right there, right off of by the front door. And he raped and sodomized me. I knew what he was about to do. I think I've never been in this situation before, and every woman wonders, well, how are you going to respond? But I even told him, I said, no, I'm on my period, and I was on my period. I said, you don't want any of this. It did not matter. He went ahead and forced himself upon me very violently, and I screamed at the top of my lungs, knowing my friends were directly across the street. I screamed so loud, praying that they or somebody would hear me. I fought so hard to not let what he did to me happen. I fought with all of my strength and power. And it didn't happen. And once he was done, he went to the restroom, and I'm laying there in a state of shock on his bed, crying, just weeping so loudly, in pain, horrified. And he came back, said, you could use the restroom now. So I went in there and cleaned myself up. And when I was done, I grabbed my things and exited. He actually walked me to my car. walked me to my car. He said, excuse the language, he said, I fucked up, didn't I? I didn't say anything. He said, I fucked up, didn't I? Still didn't say anything. So I got in my car and I just didn't even know what to do. Could not call my parents, the people I really wanted to call. There was no way I could have told them what had just happened, even though it was not my fault for what happened. Yes, I put myself in a bad situation, but what happened to me or to any woman that has this happen to, it is not our fault whatsoever. And through counseling, I was able to work through that, because you do think it's your fault. You really, really think it's your fault. So I didn't know who to turn to, so I called the doctor that I was working for and told him what had just happened. And he was so kind, so nice. His wife met me he told me to go to the emergency room. He was going to have a special nurse meet me there. Told me to call the police. I called the police, and the police also met me there at the emergency room. His wife, the doctor's wife, met me there. She was so kind. I went through, told them the whole story, everything in detail of what had happened. And then I had to go through the torturous experience of being examined by a doctor for the purpose of, in case this goes to court, they have evidence. They had to acquire evidence and do analysis and take pictures and all of that. So that ended. The doctor and his wife were so kind. They didn't want me to be alone that evening, so I spent the night at their home that one night. And then I just tried, I didn't tell anybody. They were the only ones that knew for the longest time. They were the only ones that knew, and just tried to carry out my life as normal as I could. The police did go and get him that evening, and he did stay in jail for a good while. And I felt the need as a Jehovah's Witness to confess what had happened to me to an elder in the congregation, an elder friend of mine. So he told me, after I had told him what had happened, he said, well, you need to meet with 3 elders to discuss everything in great detail, like a little committee meeting, in a sense, is what they call it, to give them your side of the story of what happened so they can supposedly help you get through this. So I don't remember how much time period had passed from when I had talked to the elder before I actually met with the committee meeting. But how in that time period, they were able to get the public records of what had happened. And anything like that is public record. Anybody can get a copy of the police report. That's just public record. I did not know that. So when I went to my committee meeting, there was 3 elders. 2 I was very close with. 1 I didn't know that well. He was an older gentleman, and he was the one in charge of leading this committee meeting. There's 3 of them, and one of them pretty much does all the questioning, and the other ones take notes or throw in a little bit of this, that, or whatever into the mix. And he said, well, they questioned me. He said, well, why you went over there? you went willingly over to this man's house, so you must have consented to this sex. You consented, obviously, since you went over to this man's house. I said, no, I did not. There was no way that I consented, because you see in my police report that I screamed at the top of my lungs. Unfortunately, nobody heard me. There were no witnesses to this, but and I said, and there are pictures that were taken to show proof that this was not consensual, because the man ripped me. I was torn. And consensual sex, you don't tear. But when it's violent, the way that what happened to me was, that can happen. And I tried to tell this to this elder, and he just had it in his mind that for some reason, not knowing me, not trusting me, that I was lying. He felt that I was lying based on, and even the person that did this to me admitted he did wrong to the police in his report. He says, yeah, I know I messed up. I know. He admitted it. There was so much evidence on my side for my case to show that I was innocent. And I'm confessing this to you. I didn't have to tell you anything, first of all. But here I am coming to you for help, and you're condemning me? How dare you? You're condemning me. So the meeting ended. They had to talk amongst themselves to find out what needed to be done in regards to me, and whatever needed to be done. I was taken quite aback when after they wanted to meet with me again, like a week later, based on their decision as to what to do about me. And they felt that I was lying and that this was consensual. It just hurts so much to think that these people who are supposed to shepherd the flock in a loving way can think so horribly of you. And they felt that because of that I was lying, and until I admitted that I was lying, that I lied about the whole thing, their decision was to disfellowship me, and which was going to be made public, which means my parents were going to know that I was being disfellowshipped. They weren't going to know why, but they were going to know that their daughter was going to be excommunicated, disfellowshipped, and that they weren't going to be allowed to talk to me for as long as I was disfellowshipped. This elder, the one that I didn't know so well, he actually told me, looked me in the eye and told me that I had a wicked heart. I will never forget those words that he said to me. Those words stabbed my heart so deeply, because one, you're judging me. You are nobody to judge. I just thought that made me feel even worse about myself as a human being, that somebody thinks that I have a wicked heart, when I know better than that. I know better than that. But it still weighed so heavy on me. And so I think it was within 7 days, they were going to make the announcement from the platform that stating my name in full has been disfellowshipped from the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, or however way they make this very brief announcement to everybody. I was there when they made this announcement, and it was horrible. I had to leave. When you're disfellowshipped, you arrive late to the meeting and you leave immediately after the prayer, so that you avoid any contact. Respectfully, you avoid any contact with the others in the congregation. And that was my life for a little over a year, of because I wanted to come back only for the sake that I can get my mom and dad back in my life. I didn't want to lose not having them be a part of my life. They weren't allowed to talk to me anymore. I wasn't allowed to talk to them anymore. They were all I had. And because of something that wasn't even my fault, I was disfellowshipped. Now, there are so many reasons that I have given as to why, so many good reasons as to why anyone would leave this cult. But this one was it for me. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. This one was the tipping point for me. And why I even wanted to stay a part of it, the only reason was so that I could have my parents back again in my life. So about a year and about a year and 3 or 4 months later, I'm still disfellowshipped. And it was at a district convention. They have these big conventions that are 3 days long, that we attend. And of course, I have to attend every single meeting, so that they can see with their eyes that I'm making an effort, even though nobody's talking to me. They're not talking to me. They're not checking up on me. They don't really give a damn about me. It's just their little rules from the governing body, and in the main part of the main people of this cult that they follow. I can't blame the regular Joe Schmoes of the local congregations. They don't have a clue. They're so brainwashed, and they are so blinded as to what the real truth is in regards to these kinds of practices, that they just go along with it because they don't know any better. They don't know any better at all. So I can't blame them. I really can't blame the elders, because in a sense they're just doing their job. They're like the managers, the supervisors in a company, and the CEOs are telling them this is how it needs to be run, and you must do it this way. And if you don't do it this way, you'll be fired. It's kind of like that. That's the best way I could describe it to you guys, because that's exactly how it is. This is not a religion. To call the Jehovah's Witnesses organization a religion is to put shame upon all the other religions out there, because this is just, it's truly a cult. I'm sure all of you all are seeing that as all of these chapters have progressed, the control, the fear, everything. It's truly a cult. So anyway, at this district convention, I, of course, I could sit with my mom and my dad, but I had to sit like a few seats away. And of course, even on our little lunch break that we had during this 3-day convention, nobody's allowed to talk to me. I'm not allowed to talk to anybody, including them. Excuse me. And I felt the need to tell my mom the reason why I was disfellowshipped. It was really, really hard because I wasn't sure. She and I had a rocky relationship for a long, long time, but I thought, I need her to know the truth. I need her to know the truth. And I told her, and I swear, my Creator must have looked down on me and had grace on me, because she couldn't have been more kind, more loving as a mom. She felt so bad that I had went through that all by myself. We did go to court. I did take this person to court. And so that was an ordeal I went through all by myself, where my family could have and should have been there with me. But because I was disfellowshipped, I couldn't have them there with me. I had to go through court, and that was horrible. It was horrible to relive all of the graphic details of what had happened to me. So anyway, my mom knew. I told her to please not to tell my dad. And till my dad's dying day, he had no clue. He had no clue. I did not want him to know. I just couldn't let him know. It's just something that was weird, even though he was my best friend. I didn't want to hurt him like that, because he would have blown up. He would have been so crushed that this happened to his daughter. So eventually I got reinstated. And it was good to be able to, and I moved back home with my mom and my dad up until they both passed. My mom passed on December 20th, 2008. And then 6 months later, my daddy died in July 6th, 2009. And both of those things were so traumatic, losing my mom and my dad. But that is, I don't think I can talk anymore for this particular video. But I am going to get into, that is the main reason why I left. The main reason. But there is other reasons that I want to discuss and bring to your attention in the next chapter. So I'm going to leave that here. And please, if you have any questions or comments, please don't ever hesitate to say what you feel. I am an open book. I am not afraid of letting anybody know anything about me. I'm not ashamed of anything. Everything is that we go through in life is a learning tool. We should learn from them, from these things. We should learn from our mistakes and the things that happen to us. So, and I am much better off where I am now in my life than I've ever been, and I'm gonna discuss those happy times with you in chapter 7, because finally at the age of in my mid 40s did I finally break free of this cult after all those years, 40 plus years of being enslaved by this cult and controlled by this cult. I finally broke free, and I have not looked back, not 1 second. And I have never been happier, ever. No, nor did I even know that this kind of happiness even existed. It just, the freedom is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I'm going to end this chapter right here. Thank you so much for putting up with this, and I'll look forward to discussing some happier things in chapter 7. Good night.